Welcome to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, your guide to motorsports sponsorship. Here's your host, Josh Weesey.
Welcome to episode 75 of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, which is powered by AMSOIL. I want to take a minute to tell you a little bit more about AMSOIL and specifically my passion for the product. Now, first off, how many people do you know that are actually running AMSOIL stickers on their lawn tractor? So this guy right here is one of them. I've actually been running AMSOIL on my tractor for years, and that's because I trust the product. And one of the reasons why I trust the product is because there's just awesome people out there, awesome racers that use it as well. Now, 8 years ago, when I first got my lawn tractor and started running AMSOIL in it, I had no idea that they would one day become the title sponsor for the show and ultimately connect me with some more amazing people. Now, one of those people that I actually got connected with through AMSOIL is Chad Boespflug. So he is actually on the show today to talk to us about his journey and his story. But now that I've partnered with AMSOIL, we are working together to ensure that you, regardless of what your discipline is, whether it's Supercross or UTV or snowmobile, ATV, whatever, we are working together to ensure that you can learn how to better market yourself and drive more value for your sponsors. So we are your guide to motorsports sponsorship. Now, our featured guest today, like I said before, is Chad Boespflug. So he is a sprint car driver, and he is going to tell us a whole slew of advice and tips and tricks. But before we get into that show, I just want to give you some reminders about who we just had on last. That is Brett Q, Freestyle MX star Brett Q. And coming up next, we actually have Sally McNulty on. So go ahead and subscribe that we don't miss Sally coming on the show as well. Now, before we get into the interview, I have a few other things to cover with you. One, I would love to get your feedback. And this is a great way to bring more amazing guests on the show. Leaving a rating review on iTunes. That is a phenomenal way to gain exposure for the show. And the more we do that, the more we can grow and the more we can continue to bring on amazing, amazing guests. Now, as of today, we've had over 50 people leave 5-star ratings on the show, and I'm pretty excited to see that happen. Now, this episode here is brought to you by SolderWeld. They produce game-changing metal bonding technology. TopThePodium.com, they're experts in motorsports sponsorship. Bold Racing and Suspension, they're a family race team and custom suspension experts. Armor Code, they create products that make your cleanup easier. And then Crash Addict Industries, they produce extreme metal fab and safety products. I also want to give a shout out to some of our other partners, that's including MBRP, HMK, Studboy Traction, and One Stop Performance. Now, the structure of this show is set up like a race. We'll begin with the qualifier, which is a basic introduction. In Heat 1, we'll discuss Chad's background. In Heat 2, we'll talk about sponsorship, tactics, and strategies. And then in the main event, we will talk about mindset, and then we'll end at the finish line. That's where we're going to get closing comments and contact information for Chad. Without further ado, let's hop in. All right, well, welcome everybody to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, which is powered by AMSOIL. And today I'm joined by our featured guest, Chad. So Chad, actually, no, I need to say your last name here. I practiced it a couple times. I was going to just completely skip over that, but I'm going to try to say it. Boespflug, right? Boespflug?
You got it.
Perfect. Yep. Boespflug. So Chad Boespflug. So Chad, next I want to kind of give you this opportunity to fill in the gaps for the intro and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I originally from Hanford, California. Grew up, went to high school, began my racing career out there, and moved to the Midwest where I live in Indianapolis now. I work full-time for Capital Renegade, Capital Custom Trailers and Coaches. I work outside sales. We sell, wide variety of Intech, Bravo, United trailers and Bravo, and then also Renegade and show hauler coaches. So keep myself busy with that, and always working on my race cars. Run and operate my own team, and do all of our marketing efforts as well. So it's
that's awesome.
A busy year every year.
Definitely. That sounds cool though. That's good stuff. Well, what I kind of want to do in Heat 1 is just unpack your background a little bit. I want to better understand some things you've done, in your past to get you to where you're at today. So let's kind of go back in time to when you first got started in the whole motorsports industry. So walk us through that.
I mean, my grandfather, my mom's side of the family is all from Columbus, Indiana. We're always involved in, racing and things. Grandpa was a big NASCAR and IndyCar fan, and that all translated when I was born to basically become a fan. I was a Dale Earnhardt Sr. fan for a lot of years. I remember, I don't really remember, but I was 3 years old going to NASCAR races in California, chasing that and, sitting on the hill at Sears Point with a scanner and a backpack on, listening to the teams talk and the drivers talk back. And I was always really intrigued. And my dad was a prison guard at Corcoran and maintenance supervisor there, raced micros back in the day. And, next thing led to another, and they had a practice day at Plaza Park in Visalia, California. And we rented a car basically for a few sessions, got to run some laps, and they thought I would fit the whole market or blend well and become a race car driver. And Grandpa wanted to own a race car, and it grew and took off from there to become a race car driver. So, growing up, I wanted to race. It was fun. I enjoyed it a lot. Didn't ever really, think that it would carry to so much at an extent. Was having fun with it, and things got progressively better every year. And started getting, more serious, obviously, being, 8 years old and racing. Mm-hmm. You want to have fun. You want to be serious, but you're just having fun. Your parents are probably more serious than you are. So it kind of just grew to full-size sprint car. 2004, into 2004, early 2005. Won the championship in 2005 in that. Every year in micros we won a championship. I won 8 championships in 6 years in the micro divisions, and just kind of kept evolving to a point where it was time to move to the Midwest to continue racing, and I enjoyed coming to the Midwest, to Indiana as a kid anyways, having family here. So everything made sense to make the move, and glad I did. Now, I'm here, I reside here, and living the dream every day, racing USAC national sprint cars all over the country, and, flying around, race other people's race cars from time to time. It's just a lot of fun. So I couldn't dream of anything better right now.
Oh, that's awesome. There's a couple things I want to pull out of that. One is just being a Dale Earnhardt Sr. fan. I used to love NASCAR, and I watched it all the time. And I think the last full race I watched, so it was a while ago, was when he hit that wall. And I was pretty young at the time, and I didn't really understand what was happening. And I was like, people crash all the time in NASCAR, right? You get used to seeing it, and it didn't seem like it was that bad. But that was a game changer for me, man. I just never quite got back into the sport after that.
Yeah, it was. I remember it like it was yesterday. Unfortunately,
yeah.
We were at Talladega years before when he had the real bad crash there.
Yeah.
All it happened right in front of us. We obviously were fans, so we'd go to races a lot and travel when we had time off from my racing. And I remember that, and then obviously the big wreck at Daytona, which was kind of didn't really believe it because it was right in front of my eyes as a younger kid watching him wreck it down the front stretch. So we kind of I think a lot of people would probably agree that it was like a family member passed. It was kind of weird because it's a person that you don't really know, but you're just very fond of and think a lot about. And being a young kid, I remember kind of being depressed and sad about it. Really.
Yeah.
So,
not
really. So I know a lot of people are probably the same way, but yeah, no, it was definitely a tragic thing, that's for sure.
Yeah, certainly. And the next thing is just kind of getting back into the positive note. Tell us a little bit about the micro series that you raced. That's something that I told you a little bit about this in the pre-interview. We haven't had anybody, really that's been in the sprint car class on this show, and I don't think we've had anybody running a micro series in this show. So maybe just to give people an idea of what that series looked like, maybe tell us a little bit about it.
So basically, I started out in the junior sprints. It was a fairly new series, basically like a miniature full-size sprint car. It had the wing on it, everything, and just kind of a little 5-horsepower Briggs & Stratton motor. Basically, looks like a go-kart. Showed up. My grandparents went out and bought a car, and my parents and surprised me. And we went to the racetrack for the first time. A few months after that play day, that practice day. With just a race car, no tools, didn't know we needed tools, didn't know we needed spares.
Right.
Had a little trailer for racing, and it's funny to think about how it all evolved to what it is. Did the junior sprints, went to the 125 250, which was basically, a 250 dirt bike motor. Everybody had the Cowies, so ran those. That I thought taught me a lot because you had to learn shift points and everything. Learn the sounds of different revs of the motor, when to shift, when not to shift. When to shift up, when to shift down. You were busy in the cockpit shifting every other, twice a lap. Sometimes 4 times a lap. So I think that was a big thing, which obviously that side of the micros has kind of faded away, and everybody's in 600s now. Those are basically street bike motors that they have a restricted set class, and then stocks and multis. So or they call them outlaws now. It's funny how it evolves every so many years. They change the name of it. Especially how old I am or how long I've been away. I don't know the full terms anymore.
Yeah,
I went to that 360 sprint car. Ran SCRA 360 sprint cars for a year, and then went to USAC CRA sprint car series before moving to the Midwest to run a lot of local racing and USAC national series now. I race 30 to 40 races a year out when I was living out in California, and now I run up to 80 races a year. So this is the place you want to be if you want to become a race car driver, because you can race so much in a season. March or April to November, we're pretty busy every weekend.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, just to put it in perspective, like, there's only 52 weeks in the year, so I mean, you're 1.5 races a week or something like that. That's just wild.
Yeah, there's June and July. I think we'll race like in the month of June, like 18 or almost 20 races in that month.
Wow.
And there's 30, 31 days in the month, so it gets pretty hectic. A lot of travel, but that's part of being on the national tour. So
right.
That's how you brand. That's how you market. That's how you get out there. We sell T-shirts. That's how we sell T-shirts and continue to make a living.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So let's dive into a little bit more about your program right now. So tell us about, maybe your car a little bit and the series that you're running right now.
Yeah, so I mean, I've driven for a lot of people. Paul Hazen definitely helped, I guess you could say, put myself on the map. He was a car owner. He's been a car owner this is his 60th year owning a race car, so he's about as dumb as any of us owning a car for that long. And gave me a lot of good opportunity. Won a lot of races with him. He was winning a few races a year. I got teamed up with him. We won 13 or 14 races in 2 years. Put myself on the map as well, I feel, and got some good opportunities in other cars, but it just never panned out to be what I really hoped or, would have thought that they would have. And there's a lot of circumstances that just didn't play out, and, it's nobody's fault or anything. It just didn't work out. So, I got the wild hair to start my own team, 2016, partnered up with a couple of guys from Wisconsin, and we chased the USAC National Tour, run USAC non-wing sprint cars, 410 cubic inch, 850 plus horsepower, car weighs 1,200 pounds.
Yeah,
by itself.
Crazy.
Fire breathing, eating race cars, so they'll hurt you really quick if you're not careful. You got to definitely know your role. Don't be too confident or anything over top of it, because it'll buy you quickly. But started my own team, and here we are, third year running and operating my own team. We had a lot of success in 2016. We won 7 races. We won the Badlands race, 10,000 the first night, 50 grand the second night. So we clean swept that weekend.
Oh wow, that's great.
Greatest points that year, but we won some races, and a lot of people said we wouldn't win a race our first year as a team and everything, and I think we definitely trumped that a little bit by winning 7 of them. So it was a good year. Lots of opportunities came my way the next year. Good opportunities, and none of that panned out the way I had hoped. So here I am back to piecing it all together and trying to make it all go back together again, and it's been good so far.
Oh, that's great. I actually haven't had too many folks on the show that have had their own race teams, but I think when they do, it's pretty interesting to hear the different perspectives that a race team owner takes, right? Looking at sponsorship and looking at how they support their entire program, and it's turns into, I mean, I think any driver or rider or racer that's sponsored. They have to operate like a business. But I think it just goes to the next level when you do have a team to understand the ins and outs of that. So that's pretty cool. And we'll definitely dive into a little bit more of that later on in Heat 2. But one thing I want to just understand a little bit better too, for you right now, I mean, what are the things that you're really excited about? I mean, what is the point, or what is the part of your program that you're just pumped about?
I mean, we get to go racing every weekend, multiple times in the week. That's
awesome.
The fun, exciting, seeing fans and seeing the enjoyment from everybody. I've got a merchandise trailer too that we operate and we take with us to every track. I get to involve myself with a lot of our fans and people that make it all worthwhile and allow us to do what we do. So that's, definitely the fun part. I enjoy the marketing side of things. I enjoy working on the race cars myself. Obviously my day job is involved in racing. Anything around and about motorsports, I just thoroughly enjoy and love. Once it's in your blood, like everybody says, you can't get rid of it. It's an addiction. So, I enjoy everything that goes along with it. Being on a national tour, getting to travel across the United States, seeing friends and family, at this stop or that stop. It's a lot of fun to be able to do. I mean, what kid grows up and doesn't ever think he wants to be a race car driver?
Right.
Not many.
Right.
So, I get it's definitely like a dream come true to be able to do what I get to do. A lot of people dream of.
Yeah, I like how you said, once it's in your blood, how do you get rid of it? Because I know there's been multiple times where I've just cursed myself and been like, why can't I enjoy reading? Like, if reading was my hobby, imagine how easy it could be to enjoy my hobby.
Yeah.
And I've tried a couple times, like, look, I'm done with snowmobiling, I'm done with whatever, because there's so much work that goes into it. And then the next year the next day, I'm like, all right, I got to buy a new snowmobile, and I got to put like every single upgrade on it that I can find, and I got to get it to the point where I break it so that I can fix it again. And it's just crazy. I wish I had a different, like food. What if I really enjoyed food? You know what I mean? What a different world we would live in if I don't know. So yeah, once it's in your blood, it's kind of hard to get it out of there. But who wants to get rid of it? Because it's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's go through some of your partners and some of your sponsors that you currently have supporting you.
Yeah, it's obviously last year we had some pretty big backing. We partnered with another team and everything, but that didn't work out. So we're back on the trail this year, and I've been lucky to be able to build a relationship with a lot of the people that I'm involved with now. For over the last several years, just kind of marketing yourself, networking is a huge thing, as I always say, and been able to grow relationships, and when things kind of fall apart, those that have stuck by your side step up and help make it all happen. So there's a long list of product sponsors and everything that I have that have done everything they can, and this year they've stepped up more. Max and Chassis is definitely been a big help and a big supporter the last few years with our chassis. We run factory tank shocks, which again helped tremendously to give us all the shocks and everything we need. Jeff Claxton does all of our engines. I've been with him since I moved to Indiana in 2007. So
oh, really?
Really good relationship with him. Loyalty can do a lot of things for you. So there's definitely some goals and some frustration times at points with some of the way things are working, but when you persevere and push through those, everybody sticks with you a little longer and a little harder. Build a really good relationship with AMSOIL the last 4 or 5 years, and been able to really expand that to just more than just a product sponsor as well. Marty Howard Law has been a great supporter to get us from one track to the other. We weren't going to go to Florida at the beginning of the year, and he told me I had to go, and he stepped up and made that happen. There's so many little people too. I got a friend Lex Burrett that helps out and buys the tires. EW Auto Mart, a good friend of mine, Bill, helps as well. So it's just all these little things. Bob Fox Paving, they take care of our truck and the issues we have there. All these relationships that you built, and it may not have seemed like much 5 years ago, but here we are. They're the whole reason that I'm able own a race team and get to fulfill the desires and dreams that I have.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy too. And I mean, I've only been doing this podcast for like a year and a half now, and I'm looking back and like, for example, TopThePodium.com, they came on supporting this show on episode 6, and this one, I can't remember the exact number this is going to be when it releases, but I think this is going to be like episode 75, and that's a lot, and time flies.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I just met Jeff Vanistal. He was actually on episode 2 of this podcast, and he's the one that owns TopThePodium.com, and I feel like I just met him. I'm like, man, it's already been a year and a half?
Yeah.
This is crazy. So yeah, it's incredible how those relationships start forming, and they just kind of they stay there, and you look back, you're like, wow, time flies.
No, it definitely does.
Well, that's good, man. That's good. Well, speaking of time flying, we are already getting ready to head into Heat 2. So what I'm going to do next is just take a quick minute to thank the sponsors of this podcast.
Sounds good.
Have you ever been out on the trail or at the track or in the middle of the desert and something breaks? Well, of course you have. We've all been there. But a lot of people at that point, they reach into their trusty toolbox for the duct tape or the zip ties or wrenches to fix their machine. However, there's a feeling that you get when you realize you need more than just duct tape to fix that rock chip in your radiator. That's a horrible, horrible feeling to have. And that's why I'm going to tell you next about SolderWeld's metal bonding products, specifically AMSOIL. So this product gives you a longer term fix than JB Weld, which is just going to get you back to the trailer or back to the pits. With basically the assistance of MAP gas or propane torch, you can quickly and easily repair an oil cooler, radiator, AC line, or any crack or hole in aluminum. And better yet, AMSOIL flux is the only flux in industry that cleans and decontaminates the dirty and greasy surface for you. So you don't even have to worry about that part. The AMSOIL rods are actually capable of a 30,000 PSI fix, and they're stronger than even the parent metal, and they're built to last the lifetime of the part. So don't let a simple radiator leak leave you out of the race or broken down in the trail. Bring along some AMSOIL aluminum alloy repair rod and flux from SolderWeld. I don't know about you, but I absolutely can't stand cleaning the mud, filth, grime, goo, garbage off my machines after I go for a ride. It's just frustrating. It takes a lot of time. That's why I'm going to talk to you about Armor Kote next. Armor Kote is designed to help prevent mud, clay, ice, and other grime from sticking to your machine. It makes the cleanup quick and easy. It makes the machine actually look fantastic, and beyond that, it smells phenomenal. I don't know how to describe it, like bubble gum or something like that. It smells great. If you want to know more about Armor Kote, visit ArmorKoteProducts.com, and you will see their entire product line, all the offerings. Armor Kote is also working on some new stuff. They're soon going to release a solution made for coating the helmet and visor, and also one for wheels to help prevent mud buildup for high temp areas. So make your move now. Go to ArmorKoteProducts.com. Make a decision that's going to allow you to shorten the amount of time that you spend cleaning so that you can increase the amount of time that you spend riding and racing. I hear it constantly from racers that a good suspension setup is absolutely critical for performance, and that's why I'm going to talk to you next about bold racing and suspension. Now, it's really critical to understand your suspension, and there's so many intricacies with the valving and the shims and all this crazy equipment that you need to actually, rebuild and properly set up your suspension, that it's really important, if you're ready for that next level of performance, to partner with an awesome suspension company. Now, Bold Racing is that company. They're not only specialists with their suspension setups, but they also partner with companies that produce amazing custom components. And on top of that, they're a family race team. They actually race themselves, so they really understand the type of beating that your vehicle and your shocks can take. So what I want you to do is give them a call and just chat with them. Talk to them about suspension. Their number is 702-506-5354. If you're not ready for a phone call, go ahead and shoot them an email, bold.racing@yahoo.com. I am constantly asking the guests of this podcast how they attract and retain sponsors. And on almost every single occasion, somebody gives an example of a resume. A rider or a racer resume is extremely important to your overall sponsorship pitch and proposal. And it's tough to do. I mean, it's not really the easiest thing. Anybody can go through and put together a resume, so don't get me wrong there, but it's really difficult to get something that's like unique and different and stands out, and that also is something that can be put across multiple platforms. Well, that's one of the things that I want to talk to you about next, is how topthepodium.com can actually help you build a race or rider resume that can be used on multiple platforms. I'm talking like website, PDF, something you can print off that's interactive, that looks fantastic. It looks absolutely professional. Well, that's because it's made by a professional. This is the type of thing that's going to set you apart from the crowd, and that's going to position you for a strong sponsorship proposal. So what I want you to do next is go to topthepodium.com, and if you have a question, there's a little chat icon that pops up on the side of the screen when you go to topthepodium.com, and you can go ahead and type your question right there. Jeff Vanestall, he is the owner of Top the Podium. He's going to be able to respond to you directly, so check it out. Safety is our overriding priority. I hear it all the time, but I have to ask myself, is it though? Is that the first thing we think of? Is that the first thing you think of? Over the past couple of years, we've seen the performance of production UTVs increase, somewhere around 350%. That means these machines give us a lot more opportunity to have fun and win races, but it also, unfortunately, gives us new opportunities to crash. And that's why we have partnered with Crash Addict Industries. The owner, Travis Pointer, became very accustomed to crashing early in his career. He saw it as inevitable, and he set out to make the process safer. With a passion for racing, welding, and engineering, Crash Addict Industries now produces full cage and other protection systems intentionally designed to protect you during an accident on the track. They also offer a line of human protection products through their vendors. Do this for me at this point. If you're racing with a stock cage right now, please go check out crashaddict.com and at least just see what they have to offer. Even if you choose to go with a different company, please make safety your overriding priority. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. We are now in Heat 2, and that's where we get into the sponsorship tactics and strategies. So, Chad, the next thing I want to kind of dive into is some of the examples around how you've built relationships with sponsors. So you already gave us some examples of those sponsors and that they have been great relationships, but now I want to understand how they formed and how you've been able to maintain that. So let's just give, if you got one or two examples that you can walk through, that'd be fantastic.
Like I mentioned and hit on a little earlier, I'd always say that networking is a huge, tool into being successful, whether it's, advancing your career as a race car driver or advancing, your efforts in your marketing game. Networking with different people can put you in a lot of better locations at times, or situations as well to continue to grow. So, meeting as many people and being presentable every time you meet those people. First impressions is, as mom and dad and everybody in school always tells you is key, and they weren't lying. So, I took business marketing classes in college and communications, and I think that definitely helped me to become a personal person when talking to marketing or potential marketing partners. And a lot of them, you don't even know that they're going to be one. It's just kind of the way it evolves. Bob Fox Paving was a sponsor on a team, that I raced for, and just, thanked him all the time for what he did for the team that I was racing for. And, a couple of years later, racing my own team, running good, and he walked up to me and told me if I keep winning so many races, he's going to have to sponsor me. So it's the greatest thing you want to hear when you don't even have to ask and somebody offers. So, and it was just a friendship and, relationship that I built, and never tried to take from that other team, just, was polite about everything and thanked them. And, here we are. And, in AMSOIL, the same way. It was a deal where a couple of teams I raced for had their were partners with them the product side because our national, our series sponsor is USAC, and did a meet and greet kind of thing at their facility headquarters and got to meet and know the right people. Next thing you know, we worked on a display car for a few races with them. Just kind of kept growing that relationship with them to the point that and it to the point where everything was great, and then several people left that had my connections with. Well, luckily they had made put a positive vibe into everybody underneath them that we had been doing good things for them. So when you thought it was all done and over, there goes all of our connection. The phone rings again, and they want to work more and kind of continue to carry things on. So obviously the more people you meet within a company that you're working with is better, but to do a good enough job to succeed and surpass what they're expecting, I think is crucial to building that relationship, not with just the people at the brand, but the brand itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always interesting thinking about who is watching, right? I think you made a comment a little bit earlier about, you're not sure who's there, who's watching, or who's thinking about you. I mean, that was something. So I mean, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, but obviously this podcast is one of the titles, or the title sponsor is AMSOIL, so we have that connection there. But the way that the connection was made is very interesting. So like they had been watching, they'd been following the show and watching it. And I didn't know that, and and they obviously were paying attention to who was coming on the show and the topics we were covering. And that's true of anybody. If you're a backcountry snowmobiler and you are posting up pictures on social media, you might have, a company like HMK watching you and thinking like, man, they're really getting some good content out there. Maybe I'm going to reach out to them and offer them a package to help promote my product. You just don't know who's watching. So I think it is important, like you said, keep those first impressions at the top of your mind. And, whenever you put content out there or whenever you're in person somewhere representing yourself or another company, someone else might be watching.
Yeah, and I'm we worked really hard with a title sponsor that we had, our primary sponsor that we had last year. And then obviously they were partnered up with the team that we blended with. That didn't work out, and it all went away. And was talking to people on the team, and kind of, hey man, this kind of stinks that you did so much and you pushed everything so hard for them that it was all for nothing because they're not back. And I said, no, it's not that at all. We did what we were entitled to do and what we signed up for, and we overexceeded that, I feel like, and that only will bring more things to the table in the next month because people see that. Other companies and other brands see that we did over and above. We exceeded what their expectations were and surpassed that, and helped increase their brand. Not just, it didn't just stay at a flat line. We made that line jump up. So, and that's what you're there to do at the same time. And it just puts you on a pedestal more or less, versus the next people, underneath in line. So, somebody's always watching. You don't know, it may not make sense. But there's a plan, where there's a will, there's a way. Yeah.
I like how you said that too around, it like you did something, you went above and beyond, and other people saw that and they felt that you also went above and beyond. I want to give a different example of a great sponsor that we had on this podcast a while back, and it was basically we talked with the owner. I talked to the owner of Mind FX Science. They make this really cool product that's it's like a powdered supplement energy drink, essentially. It's really cool stuff, man. It's like, I don't know, clears your mind. It's awesome. But either way, Kevin was like, hey, I'm really interested in sponsoring your show. I've been watching it. I'd like to, give it a run. I was like, okay, great. Let's try a month and see what happens. Like, let's run some promo codes and see what we can do. And it didn't increase his sales. It didn't even make a dent. But we knew that like ahead of time. We had an agreement, like if it's not working, man, we're just gonna cut it because I'm not gonna waste your time. And it didn't work out. But I still talk to Kevin, and we just kind of keep up to date on things. I check in on how he's doing, how his business is growing. Like he's got a whole different model that he's going after, and he's doing phenomenal. But like I think that stuff is important too. Like even if things don't work out, like whatever, that's cool. We can still we're all still one big happy family.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's yeah, I mean, and again, that relationship might kindle back up, 5 years down the road, when you may need it the most, and things can, they'll bloom again. So definitely don't burn bridges.
Yeah, and that kind of made me think of something. It's been a little while since I've had an example like this on a show, but I've heard people say, it didn't work out with a company. I'm just going to make up a company now. Let's just say it's Red Bull. Like, yeah, I was working with Red Bull and it didn't work out, but I had a really good relationship with the, maybe it's the brand manager or something. And then that brand manager went to Monster Energy. And then guess what? Now I'm sponsored by Monster Energy. Sometimes these people that are sitting in those roles, they do, just like everybody else, they might switch industries or change jobs or whatever it might be, but they might still have that relationship with you. So sometimes, you might see those relationships come down the line in a whole different company.
No, definitely. Yeah. Exactly that. I mean, my connections with AMSOIL before, I still talk to them. When I had successful weekend racing, there's text message exchange. We've even talked business as far as, trailer sales and things like that with them. So, networking connections, again, I always say is a huge thing, especially if you're starting out a career in racing and you're a young kid. You want to make a living at doing this. That's the time to start because, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years in, you're going to have all these connections that you made that are going to play out and could make a huge factor in your whole racing career, the way things go from there on out. So.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Is there another example of a, sponsored relationship that you kind of built and, maintained over time?
Yeah. I've got so many, they've all kind of evolved from, being at the racetrack. Packed racing springs, Schroeder torsion bars, same kind of funny thing. Me and a friend were talking about how Schroeder torsion bars just got bought out by Pack and was at the Chili Bowl Midget National race in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and walked up to my friend's his little box suite that he has. He invited me up, and sure enough, there's a guy there with the Schroeder torsion bars jacket on, and introduced myself and got to talking to him. And he worked for Pack, and they just bought Schroeder out, and told him, hey, gave him my business card, and told him I would love to do some, product testing or whatever. I run Schroeder torsion bars now. If they had anything new or anything they wanted to try or, anything like that, if I could be of assistance, I'd love to. And, 2-3 months later, I got a phone call, hey, we want to, work with you. How can we make this happen? 2 months later, we were working together right out the gate. 2 months later, they called me up. Hey, we want to be a primary sponsor for Indiana Sprint Week, which Indiana Sprint Week is 7 races in 9 days.
Oh, wow.
The highest point of our season. It's nationally known around the sprint car world. Everybody kind of tunes in and watches and pays attention. So it's a great time to help promote and partner up. So we did that, and then the next year they came on as a secondary. So it kind of happened really quickly, but it was just kind of a funny thing. You're just sitting there, talking to a friend about it, and next thing you know, things kind of fall into place, and you've got a good connection, and still working with them today. So they provide great valve springs, bump springs, all that stuff, and we enjoy working with them, helping them R&D things as well along the way.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I always like digging into the stories to understand those connections. I think it helps people maybe look at their current situation and see, are there opportunities right now that maybe they're sitting in front of them that they haven't really taken advantage of yet, or maybe, I don't know, maybe there's already a relationship that started brewing in the past that they can rekindle. That's kind of why I dig into those things.
No, definitely. Yeah. And a lot of times it's something in your face that you don't see. So, always shake hands and smile and don't be afraid to talk and make new friends.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you hinted at something a little earlier And I don't know if that's the example you want to give here or not, but I kind of want to go through a time when things didn't go that great with a sponsor. I think it's important for people to hear that everything isn't always, sunshine and rainbows, that we all run into problems. So, the example you talked about earlier, I don't know if you want to get into it or not, but you were just saying like you kind of started partnering with one team and, that didn't really work out overall. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? And we don't have to get into like company names or team names or anything like that.
No, and it's, it's a fact of life, fact of business. This is, that's the way I look at it. This is a business as much as it is somewhat a hobby sometimes. As far as, employment and things like that as well, it's a business. You got to look at the financial aspect of it. And I understand that, if things aren't working out financially, then so be. But, I think it was more of a performance issue. Things didn't go as well as I wanted. By any means, trust me, I want to succeed as much, if not more than anybody, trying to operate, the balance the books and operate the team and everything. So, the better we succeed, the easier it all is. But it was just, I don't think there was any hard feelings ever or anything. As a young kid, my grandfather was big into, finding sponsors and having sponsors, and there was times that they didn't work out, and they go their way, shake their hand, thank you very much, and carry on, because they could turn around and come back and see that you're doing good things still, and feel like there's a niche for their market. So don't ever burn bridges. It's a big thing in life, not in just racing and marketing, but in anything as far as employment, all that stuff. It can play a big factor in where you go. And like I say, it's got to work for both. So you've got to make it worth that company's time and efforts as well as yours. You definitely feel like sometimes you might be working for free, but again, you're not, because you were hired to help market and promote that brand. So that's your job. So definitely value your time and make it worth it at the same time. And if you do, there's no number that you can't put on it if it's of value.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. It is a job at that point. Someone is, whether it is product or a discount, or a cash deal, like there's always a dollar value you can link to that. I think we had talked about this. Travis Pointer was on here. He's actually been on a couple of the shows. He's been on a live show and then this show. And basically he basically said there's a dollar value you can link to everything. So if someone gives you free product, that's their inventory, that's part of their assets, that's part of their cash flow, and that means you're on the payroll essentially, and you gotta think about what that's worth and what value you're driving from it.
I mean, the minute they see that it's not working, they're gonna let you know. They'll be the first one there.
Right.
Yeah, you got to work at it, and that's what I would say. You got to put a value to what it's worth to you too, and come to the terms with it and make it all work. Obviously, every form of racing has different costs and expense to make it happen. So you just gotta find those corners that you can help expand their marketing. And social media has helped a ton with that. It's so easy to take and pull out your analytics and everything. So your views and your impressions and things. And so that has made it a little easier, I think, than doing a lot of the deep homework, which I still continue to do though, because magazines are still alive. Things like that, you got to kind of dig for it to get the views, but and see what those impressions are. But those can be big numbers.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, I've talked about this book on the show quite a few times. There's a book that Alex Stryler wrote called Motorsports Marketing and Sponsorship, and he describes in there how to evaluate your program. I like you just said, there's ways you can do research and understand impressions outside of social media, for magazine views, or if you have an opportunity to get on a television slot, what kind of views that are. So maybe tell us a little bit about that. How do you do some of that research?
I mean, obviously, I've contacted. I cheated a little bit. I contacted USAC, and got some of their reviews, which a lot of the series that you race with that are precedent will have, their reach and things like that. So definitely, I use them to bounce off of to get my start. And, the biggest thing I think for us is, really the mileage that we truck up and down the road.
Yeah.
Think about how many cars you pass and that pass you, every mile going down the road. Times that by how many miles you're going to do that year. It's incredible the numbers that you can pull when you're on the national tour, traveling up and down the road. And just using personal experiences and things that have happened when on the road. People that make the comments and things. It's definitely a full-time job keeping up with all of your marketing packets and everything to update them, change them. You don't want basically changing the year on it every year. You want to update it, make it, look different basically. And it'll grow as you go. Your views and your impressions and everything are going to change. Where like I said, social media makes it easy because you can reach so many people in a short period of time and get those numbers really quickly. That's definitely helped to gain sponsors too, because you can reach so many people. So you definitely have to work hard at it, and do your research and make phone calls. Sprint Midget magazine is a really big magazine that we get a lot of publicity in as far as sprint car racing. So, and just making connections with people there so that they put you in the magazine, things like that to be able to show that you have a good reach and present that in a good proposal. And that's the second biggest thing is having the content, the proposal with the content in it to present, to make things exciting. And then I recently have been reaching out, talking to another company that I provided a small video, did the homework and the research with a company to produce a video to kind of show the excitement in sprint car racing, and to help get that person or that potential marketing partner excited while they're watching this video. Make the hair on their arm stand up to go, man, this is cool. We want to be involved. You gotta make it all fun, exciting, and worthwhile at the same time, giving them a good value.
Yeah, I want people to recognize this is how a marketer thinks too. So obviously you've had training experience in marketing, but I hope people listening right now are thinking of ways that they can pull out some additional exposure to share with sponsors. Like, I'm thinking of an ATV racer, grassroots, right? Someone who is just getting started, or maybe they've got a few product sponsors, but essentially they're self-funded, and they probably throw their machine in their pickup truck, and maybe they drive an hour to the race. Well, just like you said before, let's say that's 75 miles, and they're going to pass 82 cars. Well, that's 82 more impressions if you got a wrap on your machine or on your truck or whatever. And I want people to think that way. I think that's important for sponsored riders and racers to look at those as opportunities. Like, what opportunities do I have to get my reach extended?
No, definitely. And even as far as, I always say that, when people see, put, I'm trying to think of what it is, but don't overvalue or overextend the value of a sponsor somebody's giving you. Don't give them more than what they're paying for either. You gotta really find that line, because, if a guy gives you $500 and you put his name all huge on the side of the race car, well, it looks like he gave you $50,000.
Right.
Nobody's gonna go, hey, nobody's gonna ask you what that sponsor's worth, but it looks like you've got all that you need.
Right.
But at the same time, but you need more, so don't overextend yourself. At the same time, put a value on a size of a decal and use that. Don't step away from that. If everybody in racing had a $500 sponsor on the side of the race car, well, then, yeah, there'd be a lot of sponsors. You devalue the size of that spot on that race car. And there's a lot of people out there that I race against that may not have a big sponsor, but they put it huge on the side of the race car. Well, they're devaluing the placement of that sponsor. That sponsor's getting a lot for their bang for their buck, but when I go to look for a sponsor, they may do it for half the price. Well, that doesn't cut it really, because that doesn't make a race car go around the racetrack.
Yeah.
That there's more of a value there. So, and it's, to each his own. Some people don't need, the corporate sponsorship to make their whole racing go, where I do. So I value each sponsor at the value that it's worth, and always work to give even the biggest to the smallest sponsor the same reach. Hero cards, autograph cards, T-shirts, online blast, things like that. I mean, you're always pushing them all equally. Obviously, that sponsor that has more value, you do a little more with that. But they may get their name a little bigger on a T-shirt. They may get their sticker a little larger, obviously larger on the race car, on the hero card, things like that. So I just think that that's a big thing too, that some people see, a small amount of money and they just take it and, oversize things where it kind of hurts others, and then it starts hurting the whole brand of that style of motorsports to bring those kind of sponsors in, to produce the value that it takes to do this, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, I think from my standpoint that is the most challenging aspect of motorsport sponsorship. The valuation piece is hard enough to even just know where to put a dollar value in, but like to know that it's the right dollar value and that, you're giving the sponsor the value that they should be getting for what they've offered, but then also not underselling yourself and gosh, I just think that's the most challenging thing. I wish that there was something out there like then it would take the fun out of it. You wouldn't need a podcast if this existed, but if there was this big chart that you could look at, it's like, oh, okay, so the standard decal size and the standard social media reach for this person, this sponsor package A with subgroup X. Oh, that's $38.95 and a square inch. Like, I don't know. If there was some massive chart like that, I think this whole thing would be a lot easier, but it's just not that way.
Yeah, and it's just, it's a hard thing to definitely to decipher through, and everybody's operations run differently. Your overhead differently. It's all stacked up against you in a different form or way. So, you put your own value on it, definitely. But like I said, a guy shows up with a big sponsor-sided race car and he got $2,000, and I'm trying to sell the same spot for $50,000. It just kind of depletes the whole need, and the demand or the value of that sponsor in that location. And again, it's the return that you can provide for that marketing partner. So
yes,
you got to make it of value for them as well. And that's, I look at that as well as, all right, this spot's worth this much. And if I fill these other 5 or 8 spots, then we're all good. It all works together to make us go through a full season, which then everybody's kind of working together, whether they know it or not, to make it all, cover your expenses to help you keep going. And to give them all the same return that's of value to them. Obviously, you're not going to hand anybody $100 expecting, $10 back. You want to see, $120 back. So, you got to find that way to do that and be creative with marketing ideas. We do lots of little fun giveaways. Last year we had a cornhole contest in front of my merchandise trailer, gave, provided items, hats and koozies away, cheap, quick little items that we gave away, but created brand awareness, networking with our brands, created awareness that we were partners with this brand, and everybody benefited from it.
I think that's cool. And I love where people can pull in fun events and activities and, put that in their programming. I think that's good stuff.
Everybody wants free stuff. So if you can give them something small, that 20-cent sticker, they'll take it and they'll be happy and they're pumped up and excited about it. So you just gained it so quick.
I definitely agree with that. I like free stuff too, because guess what? You're not going to find too many people that say, "Ooh, free, ooh."
Yeah.
It's always in like T-shirts. Oh my goodness, people get so excited over T-shirts, and I'm the same way. I don't need any more T-shirts. Like, I am good, but I still, if there's a free T-shirt somewhere, I'm like, ooh, what can I do? Like, oh, you need me to put in like 16 hours of work? Definitely, I'm gonna do it to get that T-shirt. Well, hey, one thing that I want to dive into is social media. And for you specifically, I actually wanted to talk about Twitter a little bit. I have been trying to find folks on here and this show that like Twitter or that are good at Twitter, and there's just not many of them. There's not many folks in motorsports that kind of get the program. I am one of those people. I am horrible at Twitter, and I know it takes a different way of running it, but you've done well with Twitter. I think that you get a lot of engagement when you post something, and I kind of want you to walk through a little bit of your strategy with Twitter.
I mean, as far as bringing people in to comment and things. How
do you even think about it?
I mean, don't post too much, but post things that are intriguing, I think. Obviously my personal page is my outlet for all my marketing efforts and everything as well. So I don't post my personal life either because, that could be very opinionated sometimes, and I just don't do that. So, keep it well-rounded for everybody to be able to be involved, not have any frustration towards your political views or anything like that, possibly, and just use it as a tool. Again, it's a huge tool. So, be interactive, put out there interactive things for people to join in on, bits and pieces. The way everything with social media is structured now and the way it works for a lot of people is, sharing is huge. So, we do a lot of the sharing and things like that to help expand the brands that we represent, to help them. They will see that growth more than we will from that. So it's the way that the whole formatting and everything of Twitter and Facebook has grown. I personally really enjoy Instagram because it's pictures. You can put a good quick comment, and everybody wants to see what's going on. They don't want to read what's going on. So everybody's visual. I use this a lot in work with trailers and coaches. Is if I tell you I have this very nice motor coach for sale, you want to see it. If I tell you about it, you lose interest. But if you see it, you gain interest, and you're going to be more likely to purchase it from me. So being everybody's visual, everybody wants to see videos and pictures. Will help you expand, and people won't lose interest, and they won't unfollow you typically. So, keeping things involved in the racing and throwing little blurbs out there to, plugs of your sponsors and things, keep them happy and keep things growing. We partnered with AMSOIL, extended our partnership here this last week, and we had a huge growth in Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. It's amazing how many followers I gained, and I hope and can't imagine hopefully the followers that they gained as well. From connecting the two of us as one, gained interest for both of us on different spectrums. So it's been good. Social media is a huge, great tool. I latched onto it, when it was new, and I thought this is kind of dumb. Facebook, it's kind of this crazy, weird, dumb thing in a sense, but now it's a huge marketing tool. And there's a lot of stuff that our people that work to help us find sponsors and things use. My PR person's on there a lot, posting a lot for me as well. So, using it again to share new things, new giveaways, new merchandise, create excitement and buzz about what we're doing from night to night, from week to week, from month to month, because things are always changing and evolving, and you got to keep people excited and interested. So I think sometimes when you have a little lull there where you don't post anything, people wonder, he hasn't posted in a while. You post something, and there's engagement and excitement again, and everything kind of gets flowing again. So, I try not to overdo it. Let's just say, keep it at the right level as well.
Oh, that's good. And one thing I want to pull out from that too, just it's interesting how some of the chain reactions happen. So, just a couple of days ago, I announced the AMSOIL partnership with this show. And, when I was scrolling through one of my feeds, I think I was on Twitter at the time, that's when I saw your announcement about AMSOIL. And I was like, man, we got to get this guy on the show. So, it's interesting how these things happen. And who knows what'll happen from this? Like, maybe somebody will listen to this show, and 2 years from now, they're going to do something different with what they heard today, and maybe they'll be with AMSOIL, or maybe they'll be with Hoosier, or I don't know. There's just there's so many different things that can happen. You don't even know. You don't know what's happening while it's happening. You can only make the connections later.
No, definitely. I mean, yeah, networking and connecting again. It just it never stops. From one thing to the next. So, hopefully I helped a few people, or gave some pointers. There's lots of different views in motorsports. I always say there's three in sprint car racing. There's the driver's view, the crew member's view, and then the fans. So, the best way you can help provide all those three different views into one and make it all valuable for other people and things. And everything kind of ties in together at one point or another, and things evolve, and it just kind of creates its own little destiny, I guess.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, I'm going to move on to the main event now, and I'm going to start with this question, and it's a newer question, but I think it's fun. So if you could sponsor any athlete in the world, who would you choose and why? And I said athlete, so it doesn't have to be in motorsports, but any athlete in the world, who would you choose and why?
Man, I mean, obviously, if I was a big company, you want to partner with somebody that gives you a lot of reach. I'm rambling, trying to think at the same time. It's going to do a lot of, brand awareness, and, obviously you would probably look at their social media to see where they're at,
yeah.
what's their, status quo, I guess, as to, their engagement with fans and followers and things. I mean, man, I don't know. I mean, I'm a big sprint car guy, so I would probably, somewhere around the sprint car world. I've got a lot of World of Outlaw friends. They seem to have a really good following, the wing sprint car stuff. Shane Stewart would probably be, he's a well-rounded, humble, good friend of mine, but I mean, he does well. He's got a lot of big following, I would say. He's been around the sport. He's got that good connection. Everybody likes him. There's so many, and I particularly feel fond of the people that do this for a living, that need this to make a living. And there's nothing wrong with your dad succeeded in life, or somebody in your family, and racing good for you. That's the card you're dealt. But there's a lot of people, that weren't handed that work hard to succeed. And so, it's fun to see people like that succeed. Kyle Larson, a good friend of mine as well, was, a kid trying to make a name in sprint car racing, and look where he's at now. So, he didn't have a whole lot of backing when he started, and, he made the right connections and things, and that grew for him, and that's gotten him to look where he's at now, running Cup, on a national stage, and still getting race sprint cars on the weekend. So, seeing people like that succeed. So, I'm sure there's a kid out there that I probably don't know of yet, but that I would probably pick.
Yeah, I just looked up Kyle Larson as well while you're talking, just to make sure I was already following him, and I am. But yeah, I struggle with this question too. That's why I ask people, because, like, in my mind, originally who I say is Ken Block. Like, Ken Block in the motorsports world, he just dominates it. He does fantastic on social media. He seems like he's involved in all sorts of different media. But then I think, all right, well, this guy can bring in top dollar. I was like, would I, in any business that I would own, would I even be able to afford something like that? Because I think this guy, I mean, it's phenomenal the amount of money he's able to pull in. So, like, could I even afford something like that? And then I start thinking, well, what I would probably do is target, like, a younger racer, someone who's just getting started. I'm thinking, like, somebody in the UTV space that's been on the show before is Caden Danbury and then Casey Sims. They're 9 and 13 respectively, and they just, like, they kill it out there, and they're just such good people, and they're really nice. And I've met Caden. Like, well, why wouldn't I'd probably sponsor him, and then, like, maybe 30 years from now, he's Ken Block. And I don't know, it's just tough to think of how that stuff's gonna pan out. That's why I like to ask that question, see where people's heads at.
Yeah, again, you don't know where things are going to go, and who you're helping, where they're going to be.
Yeah, certainly. Well, I'm just going to ask one more question in this section, and then we'll kind of wrap things up. what's next for you in your career, motorsports career? I mean, where do you see this whole thing headed, and how do you know that you're headed in the right direction?
I mean, it's hard to say. I'm content with where I'm at right now, competing in the top stage of, not only sprint car racing. So, would I like my career to evolve more? Yes. Unfortunately, time and money is of high value, I think. So, but it hindered something. But, who knows, just keep working hard and branding myself to continue to make a living at racing, and being successful at the same time. It's just it's been a lot of fun. It's a fun journey. It's a fun time to meet so many new people all the time. Connections that you make now that come back up, 2-3 years later, and evolve into something more than just shaking a hand and introducing yourself. So, I don't know really what the future holds. You just kind of, throw the ball in the court and play and see where you end up. So, we'll keep living it to the fullest and shaking hands and kissing babies and keep striding forward.
I love this question because nobody knows the answer to it, and I think that's beautiful. You know what I mean? I've continually asked myself, I'm always asking myself, what do I want to be when I grow up? And, in my day job, I'm a manager, and so I'm always spending time trying to help coach and develop people. And I'll ask them that, what do you want to be when you grow up? And, where do you see yourself in 5 years? They're like, I don't know. And okay, join the club. Welcome. Welcome to the club, to admitting that you don't really know what's next. But I think it's important to keep plugging along. I think I know the way I like to do it is think about, some more vague goals, you just said, branding myself better and, growing. I kind of think in those terms, and, I might not always know what the details are, but I think it's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, cool. The next thing we're going to do is kind of wrap it up. And what I want to ask you at this point is give us one thing just to kind of sum up our conversation. So if everybody forgot 99% of what we talked about, what's that 1% that they should remember?
Network. Networking is key. I say it all the time. I've been asked, if you could tell a young kid something that wants to make a career in racing, what would you tell him? Network yourself, meet as many car owners, race fans, potential sponsors, people in different businesses that evolve around racing that you want to be in. You never know. You may retire and need a job and go work for him. You may, be in the same business that you guys can build a relationship for, work together, and have a successful business together. You just never know. So networking will bring a lot of things to you if you do it correctly.
Yeah, 100% agree. Your network is your net worth. It's super critical. What's the best way for people to reach out and connect with you?
Really, any form of social media: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Chad Boespflug Racing. .com is my website, or 98 Motorsports. Spell it all out. You can get on there and find links to everything on the website. We're all over social media, so check us out. Check us at a local dirt track, USAC National. All over the United States. Just traveling coast to coast, north to south, all over on the AMSOIL National Sprint Car Tour.
And I'm gonna spell this name for everybody. BOE. Yeah, because it's a toughie. BOESPFLUG, Boespflug. So write that one down. Say it 10 times fast. You're gonna get there.
Cool, so.
Actually, you know what, Chad? I did not coach you on how to say my last name. I don't know if you've heard it yet. Maybe I might have said it when you first answered the call. But do you know how to say my last name? It's also German.
I do not know.
Go, take a shot.
I don't want to butcher it too bad. I've been that guy. I've been on that side of the card. I don't like it.
It's Weesey. You say it Weesey.
I got
But
you.
it doesn't look like that. And I don't even know if it's right. But you know what? My grandmother, at some point, like 90 or 100 years ago, decided that's how we're saying it. So guess what? That's how we're saying it. It's Wiese. But it means lawn or meadow in German. Lawn or meadow.
Yeah, I'm very German as well, and I had in college classes, I had a girl from Germany, and she knew. It was just kind of funny. She could say my last name without any issues, and it was like out of control.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to chat tonight. I love when we get into the topics around valuations. I think that's one of the more challenging things that we can do. And I like how you described some of the things around magazine views and impressions that you calculate on driving. I thought it was awesome stuff. Completely agree. Networking is key. So yeah, really appreciate that. But at this point, we're going to close things out. So have fun and ride safe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, which is powered by AMSOIL. Be sure to subscribe. That way you don't miss any of our upcoming guests. We have Sally McNulty of Snail Performance coming up next. She is a time attack driver, full of energy. Awesome interview. And if you want to go back in time, check out Brett Q. He was just on episode 74, and he's a freestyle MX dude. Super down to earth. Check it out. Also, head over to iTunes, leave a rating review. That would be phenomenal. If you have any questions or guest recommendations, shoot me an email, podcast@impactfuel.org. Make sure that you are following us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Pay particular attention to our Facebook page, though. That's where we go live. We do 2 live episodes every month. We just had Sean Endel on May 14th, and then Shelby Mahan is coming up next on May 21st. To get some insider access to upcoming guests, you can also check out the Sponsored Rider Club on Facebook. A special thanks for this show goes out to our sponsors, AMSOIL, Armor Cote, SolderWeld, Bold Racing, TopThePodium.com, and Crash Addict Industries. And another quick shout out to MBRP, HMK USA, Studboy Traction, and One Stop Performance. I look forward to serving you again next week. And until then, have fun and ride safe.